Concept of status. Status represents a position held by an individual in a society. In society, everyone has a separate identity or social position. Normally, everyone enters a society with an identity. If status is granted to individual at the birth, then it is called ascribed status. Some individuals, by virtue of their efforts, achievements, develop their own independent identity. It is called achieved status. A society that allows individual to develop his potentialities and identity is called open society. If not, it is called closed society. In a closed society, the movement of individual in the social hierarchy, that is social mobility, is restricted. Definition of status. 1. R. Linton, 1936, defined status simply as a position in a social system, such as child or parent. Status refers to what a person is, whereas the closely linked notion of role refers to the behavior expected of people in a status. 2. Status is also used as a synonym for honor or prestige, when social status denotes the relative position of a person on a publicly recognized scale or hierarchy of social worth. Social status refers to the position occupied by a person, family, or kinship group in social system relative to others. Duncan Mitchell. 3. Status is the place in a particular system, which a certain individual occupies at a particular time. Rolf Linton. 4. Status is simply a position in society or in a group. Robert Bierstead. 5. A status is a position in a social group or grouping, relative to other position held by other individual in the group or grouping. Morris Ginsbert. Nature of social status. 1. A status represents a position held by individual in the social hierarchy. The word status denotes the position held by an individual in a society or a group. It is a neutral word or concept. For, it denotes neither the high position nor the low position held by individual in a society. However, when we use prefix like high or low to the term status, then only it indicates the position of individual in the hierarchy. Thus the word status just denotes a position held by individual in the society. 2. The term status is used in relative sense. According to Ginsberg, the term status represents a position of an individual in a social group that is relative to the status held by others. Even Mitchell offers the same definition. For example, when we say the status of woman is low in Indian society, we are comparing her status with that of man. In the same way, when we say the status of shoe shiner is inferior, we are comparing his status with the other status held by people like teachers and officers at a particular point of time. 3. Every status has its own rights and duties. A person occupying some important status in society has certain rights and privileges. For example, doctors are given certain privileges. Similarly, the head of the family or village has certain rights and privileges that are not given to others. In the same way, a person holding a certain position has certain duties to perform. Rights and responsibilities are almost inseparable. 4. Statuses are governed by social norms. The behavior of a person holding a definite status is always governed by the norms. Some norms are applicable to all people and some are applicable to a few. Norms like, be honest, and be truthful, are equally applicable to all people of the society. A merchant, a fundamental concern in Telugu politician and a goldsmith often violates these norms. Further, Surprisingly, people tolerate the mischief done by Goldsmith. Thus, norms are relative to the situation. Different professional categories have different professional ethics. A majority of the people will generally adhere to their professional norms. 5. An individual may have more than one status. Normally, every individual will have more than one status. A college professor may be a customer to the shopkeeper, passenger to the bus, patient to the doctor, secretary of Teachers Association, husband to his wife, and father to his son, etc. Hence, it is almost impossible for us to make a list of such status occupied by an individual in his lifetime. However, in simple societies, the statuses occupied by an individual are limited in number. Statuses possessed by an individual are called status set. 6. Status occupied by an individual influences the careers of an individual. Society is a web of statuses. In a simple tribal society, an individual cannot occupy the status of an expert skilled surgeon. Because, simple tribal society do not have any educational institutions that can equip the individual with such status. Similarly, in highly advanced urban society one cannot become a magician or witch doctor. For such statuses are not available in those societies. Hence, within the available statuses one has to choose. 7. Status influences our behavior pattern. The status occupied by an individual exerts great influence on his behavior pattern. A person who has occupied the status of an army officer behaves in a disciplined manner. Such behavior will be certainly different from the behavior of a porter who is working in railway station. Based on the behavior pattern one can guess the status. 8. Some statuses are more important than other statuses. In every society, some statuses are given more importance than the others. In a military society, the status of the king, minister, and soldiers are given more importance than the others. Similarly, in an industrial society, the scientists and capitalists are given more importance. 9. A person has a key status, master status, that is more important than the other status held by him. A person may have a number of statuses. However, all statuses do not carry the same weight or importance. A person is generally identified with one important status. It is called key status. Sociologist E.T. Hiller has used the concept of key status to denote an important status held by an individual. Let us suppose a president called X is the father of Y and the husband of A. Still, we identify such a person as a president in a public gathering or function. In home, his family members identify him as a father and as a husband but not as the president. 10. Arrangement of statuses gives order and stability to a social structure. Society allocates statuses to us. Some statuses are given to us at the time of birth. They are ascribed to individuals. Society gives certain statuses to individuals based on their sex, age, kinship, etc. An individual with his own abilities achieves some statuses. They are called achieved statuses. Professor, soldier, computer engineer are examples of achieved statuses. A person occupying some status plays some roles allocated to him. Society expects him or her to perform the roles allocated to them. Hence, status and role gives order and stability to a society. 11. Primary and secondary status. Some of the statuses are given prime importance in the society and others are treated as secondary statuses. E.g., In patriarchal societies, men are treated as primary status and women are treated as secondary. In the caste hierarchy, Brahmins are given higher status and others have been treated as secondary. Whites have always treated blacks as secondary to them. Types of status. A status is simply a rank or position that one holds in a group. One occupies the status of son or daughter, playmate, pupil, radical, militant, and so on. Eventually, one occupies the statuses of husband, mother, breadwinner, cricket fan, and so on. One has as many statuses as there are groups of which one is a member. For analytical purposes, statuses are divided into two basic types. Ascribed to, achieved. Ascribed and ascribed status, on the other hand, is beyond an individual's control. It is not earned, but rather is something people are either born with or had no control over. Examples of ascribed status include sex, race, and age. Children usually have more ascribed statuses than adults, since they do not usually have a choice in most matters. Ascribed statuses are those which are fixed for an individual at birth. Ascribed statuses that exist in all societies include those based upon sex, age, race, ethnic group, and family background. Similarly, power, prestige, privileges, and obligations always are differentially distributed in societies by the age of the participants. The perquisites and obligations accompany age change over the individual's lifetime, but the individual proceeds inexorably through these changes with no freedom of choice. A family's social status or socioeconomic status, for instance, would be an achieved status for adults, but an ascribed status for children. Homelessness might also be another example. For adults, homelessness often comes by way of achieving, or rather not achieving, something. For children, however, homelessness is not something they have any control over. Their economic status or lack thereof is entirely dependent on their parents' actions. Achieved status is one that is acquired on the basis of merit. It is a position that is earned or chosen and reflects a person's skills, abilities, and efforts. Being a professional athlete, for example, is an achieved status, as is being a lawyer, college professor, or even a criminal. Achieved statuses are those which the individual acquires during his or her lifetime as a result of the exercise of knowledge, ability, skill, and/or perseverance. Occupation provides an example of status that may be either ascribed or achieved, and which serves to differentiate caste-like societies from modern ones. Societies vary in both the number of statuses that are ascribed and achieved and in the rigidity with which such definitions are held. Both ascribed and achieved statuses exist in all societies. Mixed status. The line between achieved status and ascribed status is not always black and white. There are many statuses that can be considered a mixture of achievement and ascription. Parenthood, for one. According to the latest numbers gathered by the Guttmacher Institute, about 45% of pregnancies in the US are unplanned, which makes parenthood for those people an ascribed status. Then there are people who achieve a certain status because of an ascribed status. Take Karishma Kapoor, for example, probably the most famous reality Bollywood celebrity in India. Many people might argue that she would never have achieved that status if she had not come from a wealthy, influential Kapoor family, which is her ascribed status. Master status. Each person holds many different statuses. Some may connote higher social positions and some lower positions. Sociologist Hughes 1945 observed that certain statuses are more important than others. A status by which an individual is principally identified in the society is known as master or key status. This status dominates others and thereby determines a person's general position within a society. The nature of this key status varies from society to society and varies also from one period of history to another. In India, ascribed status of caste and gender can function as master statuses. They often dominate one's life. They have an important impact on one's potential to achieve a desired professional and social status. Asterisk 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 4.